I am back. I know it's been a little while. Man, it's been 3 weeks, maybe more. It's just been busy with work, busy with life, fatherhood. Uh, Band had a few gigs. Just couldn't quite find the time to sit down and get some stuff done. But I also wanted to give you a new releases, just fully new albums that have come out. And I was anticipating some too. So I wanted to wait for some of these albums to come out so I could do this whole episode of new releases and talk about those and actually be able to digest some of them. Some of them I haven't even been able to quite digest quite yet because they just came out this past Friday. I think I got like 4 or 5 albums that just came out this past Friday. So yeah, this episode is all new releases and what I've been listening to. So I'm going to kick it right off with probably the biggest new release, I think, so far this year. And no, it's not Lady Gaga. Sorry. That's probably the biggest release for a lot of people. But I got to admit, I'm not a super Lady Gaga fan. Well, I'm not a Lady Gaga fan. So while I may listen to that album if somebody tells me it's good, I'm not really going to talk about it too much or anything. So that's a big release. Shout out to Lady Gaga. If you're a fan, that album came out. I have not listened to it, just not interested in that one. But the one I am referring to that has come out this year is The Weeknd's album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. And everybody knows The Weeknd at this point. He's had a bunch of hits. He's done the Super Bowl. And his music, to me, reminds me of Michael Jackson a little bit. It's got Michael Jackson vibes because of his high-pitched vocals. But the production has a bit more modern sound and nightclub sound. I would say darker sound, too. It's very nighttime feeling, moody. It's moodier than Michael Jackson music. But the first song sounds straight up like the Thriller beat. I mean, I was listening to it and I'm like, this sounds just like it. But it's not a ripoff. I mean, the production goes all over the place. You have your synthy sounds, soul samples are in there, even trap beats are in here. I mean, the production is absolutely incredible. And I would say the nightclub sound is very present as well on a lot of his stuff, especially After Hours and Dawn FM. On this one, the song Open Hearts definitely had that going for me. Kind of disco-y too. Very catchy hooks. For example, the song Cry For Me was stuck in my head for days. And lyrically, he sticks with the concept of this troubled partier mixed up with drugs, women, and toxic relationships and toxic habits in general. And if you're not familiar, The Weeknd, he's kind of portraying this persona that is probably him as well, but maybe his worst qualities dramatized into a character. And this album, it leads to this finale where he's apologizing for all the mistakes he's made and trouble he's caused. And it fits so well because this is actually the last music we will get from the artist known as The Weeknd. He will be putting out music under his real name, Abel, after this. And the last song, he's saying, I want to change. I want to go to heaven when I die. So he wants to change all his sinning, so to speak. So he's breaking out of this toxic persona. And I will admit, I haven't been the biggest fan of him. I have listened to all of his stuff, and I've always liked it. But for big fans, I might not be interpreting it perfectly, but I think I am getting close enough that it gives you the idea of the persona he's trying to personify. And I do really like his music, and I really vibe with it. And this new album is really, really good. I'm kind of surprised by how much I like it, honestly, because this isn't my typical favorite style of music either. But the quality is undeniable, and the production is probably the best production that will come out this year. It is really amazing. Um, and this might be album of the year for a lot of people too. Could be for me too, potentially. Still a lot to go in the year, but I've already listened to this a bunch of times. I could see myself continuing to listen to it. It's a fun listen, takes you on a journey. The production is amazing. His vocals are amazing. Yeah, this is a really, really well done album. The Weeknd new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, and the final Weeknd album. I'll be talking more about the Weeknd too in my recommendations because I got a buddy who turned me on to After Hours and Dawn FM as well, and I'm going to talk about those pretty soon too. But speaking of amazing production, another album that came out, new release of this year, I think just a couple weeks ago, is Gramatik, Aequoreus. And Gramatik is more of a DJ producer. I actually saw him live at Bonnaroo like 10 years ago. And he had a real guitarist and a real saxophone player with him. Really cool show, really fun. He kind of gives more hip-hop vibes, but with some wubby tones to it. If you're an EDM fan, you know what I mean by wubby, that wub, 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 wub. But funky. And a lot of funkiness to his music, at times with horns and such. Lots of different sounds. One song even has this swing jazz feel to it with like clarinet or something on it. And then he's got another song on there that had this Arabian feel to it. Yeah, and he's been around a long time. He really has amazing production, great electronic music. I've mentioned before I'm not the biggest electronic music fan. It's not my go-to genre, but Gramatik has always been great to me, and this is great music for working. I will say that if you got to get some shit done, put this album on. I would also say it's good for social gatherings because it's upbeat and fun, and you can just have it on, and it'll get people's heads, bobbing. But yeah, if you're trying to get some stuff done at work, put this on, bob your head to it. It'll get you through for sure. So that's Gramatik, Aequoreus. Staying in the electronic realm, TOKiMONSTA put out an album, and this just came out this past Friday, so I've only listened to it a couple times. So I haven't had as much time to analyze this, but for me, you can't go wrong with TOKiMONSTA so far, and this style of production. Not a lot to analyze besides she did it again. She did it again. I really like TOKiMONSTA's style of production. It is more disco-y and psychedelic. My wife says this one is more chill than the last one. That might be true. I really liked her last album, Oasis Nocturno, especially the track with Earth Gang. It's called Fried for the Night. That song is, oh my God, that song's a banger. Love that song. But yeah, really cool production, variety of sounds, kind of dancey, kind of chill at the same time. I will say I did like the features more on the previous album because this one had a few pop singers in there, and I thought the rap performances were better on Oasis Nocturno. But this is a good album for sure. Gives you the features give a variety of style of music to it as well. And like I said, you can't go wrong with TOKiMONSTA. This is really cool. Again, I will be playing this while working, but also during social gatherings too, as good background music. And I've talked about this before too, but I when I say background music, it is not a diss. There is a place for that kind of music. I think that's very important, and this is a great album for that. TOKiMONSTA, Eternal Reverie is the name of it. And speaking of background music, I gotta give a quick one to Apollo Brown. Apollo Brown just put out this past Friday an album called Elevator Music, and all instrumental beats, very mellow. But Apollo Brown is one of my favorite hip hop producers, and this new one really matches the title, Elevator Music. Apollo is big on the soul samples and jazz hip hop production. I will say this one is not my favorite production or project from him because it's a little more mellow than I like. I like his more kind of hard hitting, boom bappy beats, and especially I really love his album Sincerely Detroit. That is one of my favorite hip hop albums to come out in a while. It came out, I think, in 2019. And he had like 50 underground rappers from Detroit rapping on his beats, on incredible beats. And some of my favorite production from him was on that. It's called Sincerely Detroit. I actually have it on vinyl. I also really love his album As God Intended with Shay Noir as the MC. And Shay Noir is a really good, provocative rapper. She is super underrated and needs to be known. Yeah, but this new album is super chill, and I would say perfect for studying. If I was still studying, this would be on repeat for me. Luckily, I'm done with that. But hey, if you're in school or something, this is perfect study music. It'll keep you going. It's mellow enough. It won't distract you. Yeah, that's Apollo Brown, Elevator Music. In a similar realm, Terrace Martin put out a new album titled Albion Files. Terrace Martin is a multi-instrumentalist and producer. He is present in a lot of hip-hop and jazz music. He's done a lot of collaborations with Kendrick Lamar, Kamasi Washington, Robert Glasper, and people of the type. I specifically really like his collab with those latter guys, Kamasi Washington and Robert Glasper. It's called Dinner Party. I played that album a shit ton when it came out. Truly perfect for a dinner party. The album title matches it perfectly. But I'm going to be brief with this one because this new album really disappointed me, to be honest. It wasn't nearly jazzy enough. There was only one song I enjoyed, to be honest. Most of them were really corny and just very basic production. I expected a lot more. But I wanted to mention it because I'm going over new releases that caught my attention. This one just came out this past Friday, and I got to say I will not be returning to that one. I added one song to my playlist, and that'll be it. But all the respect in the world to Terrace Martin. He's awesome. This one just didn't do it for me. But if you are a fan, check it out. All right, now for an album that did do it for me, in the hip-hop realm as well. Brother Ali, Satisfied Soul. Man, Brother Ali. He teamed up with Ant from the hip-hop duo of Atmosphere. That's the producer from Atmosphere. Great producer. Gives straight classic hip-hop beat sounds with all kinds of soul samples, but guitar riffs, and bass and vocals. And I've talked about Brother Ali in a few episodes ago, and he again, as always, is saying some really profound and meaningful stuff while doing it with crazy rhyme schemes and clever lines. I mean, he really keeps the rhyme sounds he sticks with. He also sticks with a concept, too, with each song. Each song has its own concept, and he sticks with it, which is pretty rare. That sounds simple, but typically rappers are kind of saying the same thing in each song over and over again with a different beat and a different flow, but he's able to stick with a concept with his songs, and his storytelling is incredible. For example, on the song Two Dudes, he tells the story of actually accidentally kicking Justin Timberlake off stage because he didn't recognize who he was at first. And apparently, he mentions that his eyesight isn't good, and he's, albinos. I guess I mentioned before, but Brother Ali's actually albino. Apparently, that affects your eyesight too. I didn't know that, but he's describing like the whole scene before this and what this person that he didn't know who he was wearing turns out to be Justin Timberlake, and he had the DJ kick him off stage later to go, "Hey man, I didn't know that was you. I'm so sorry." Like, crazy story. He also tells the story of being brought up on stage by KRS-One, and the imagery of that as well, the setting that he sets up, all the details. Yeah, really, really incredible with that. Another one on this album is Better But Us, where he's talking about his marriage that failed, that he always thought would get better when he became successful and made money, but everything got better than them. He always thought the issue was the stress of not having money, but it was something else. It wasn't the money, because once he got it, it still didn't help. So he kind of describes that very detailed as well, talking about buying off-brand cereal and not going out to restaurants that have white tablecloths. And he is really incredible and underrated, wholesome guy. He says stuff like "heart is with my daughter, soul is with my mother," and he's always talking about being a good person and spreading love. This is a good dude. I wrote another line here. He says, "Love doesn't disintegrate." Yeah, he's constantly talking about being a loving person and how important that is. And he talks about being a religious and righteous man as well. And I will say, I think for anyone who thinks and generalizes hip hop as a genre that is just talking about money, guns, drugs, and women, or whatever, they need to go listen to Brother Ali, because he also doesn't cuss much either, which is a typical gripe of non-hip hop fans. Oh, they cuss so much. So Brother Ali talks about meaningful stuff. He's a good guy, doesn't cuss much. This is really accessible, or I think at least can be respected by anyone, who hip hop fan or not. Yeah, I can't say enough about this guy. Man, Brother Ali is the man. He's here in Orlando in April, and I'm considering going. I'm thinking about it. All right. That album was called Satisfied Soul by Brother Ali. Another hip-hop album that I'm going to go quickly over is Mike. That's the name of the rapper. And this new album is called Showbiz. And I've been a big fan of Mike for a little while now. He has this really cool, laid-back stream of consciousness flow, spoken word, if you will. And he's just really kind of just pouring his heart out, getting his thoughts out there, and doing it over this really cool, jazzy production. And he does I think he does the majority of his production as well. And I would compare him to like an Earl Sweatshirt or an MF Doom as well, because the beats he makes too are really short. Like, a lot of the songs are only like a minute and a half or 2 minutes. So the album, while it's not even too long, it's a bunch of beats. He gives you a bunch of different sounds, and they're all like really cool and vibey. I can put this on all the time and just let this thing run. Yeah, this is probably going to be up there. You're going to hear me talking about this album again, so I'm going to keep it brief. But this album is called Showbiz by Mike. And if you just want some cool, vibey hip-hop with a guy just laid back, flowing, the flows on this thing. Oh, man, I love this. I love this album. Yeah, Showbiz by Mike. Keeping it brief with that. Another hip-hop album that came out, Reason. It's called I Love You Again. And Reason is a TDE rapper. If you're not familiar with TDE, then you're probably not a hip hop fan. But TDE is the label that Kendrick had been on. He has since moved to PG Lang. But TDE still has SZA, Schoolboy Q, Doechii, J-Rock, Ab Soul, and some others as well. But this is a solid project and a good, just quick 25-minute listen. Variety of styles of beats, and Reason has this nice raspy voice that I like. He gets a little introspective as well. Yeah, just a solid hip hop project. Nothing groundbreaking, but a good listen, and I've been enjoying putting it on. It has a good bounce to it, I'd say. Like it gets your head bobbing. And he goes from like a smooth beat to like a trap banger. So he gives you a variety. Like it goes from the song Stuck on Moments to Fleece, which Fleece is a banger with a great flow and beat. I also really like the song with Boz called Not What You Think. And 100 Freestyle is crazy, which he's using the We Major beat from Kanye's Late Registration. And he's just rapping really fast and impressive flow. Yeah, Reason is a good rapper, man. And I would say if you like J. Cole, I think you'd like him because it reminds me of that vibe, the style of beats, the style of rapping. Maybe not quite as profound and meaningful as J. Cole, but a similar vibe. Yeah. So that was Reason, I Love You Again. All right, I'm moving out of the hip hop realm, moving into some other stuff. This album is by Panda Bear called Sinister Grift. And Panda Bear is a member of the psychedelic soft indie rock group Animal Collective. They are popular and have been recommended to me by my friend Zane. Shout out to Zane. I'll be covering them in an upcoming recommendations episode. But if you're familiar with them, Panda Bear keeps that psychedelic indie sound going, but it has like Beach Boys vibes going on in this because there are some really nice vocal harmonies. So this album to me felt like if Tame Impala and the Beach Boys got together and made an album. This is a really good, beautiful album. It's also been co-signed by one of my bandmates. I put it on for him, and he was like, this is great. Shout out to Patrick. Lots of different production. Reggae vibes at times even. And yeah, I would say this is a great album to put on a sunny day and sit outside with some drinks or whatever. It just matches the sunny day vibes. Beautiful album. 10 songs, 45 minutes, sweet spot for me. I know it's early in the year, but this will probably be on my top albums of the year list. You'll be hearing me talk about this album again, for sure. So I'm going to keep it a little brief because you're going to hear me talk about this. This is very cool. All right. That was Panda Bear with Sinister Grift. All right. And next one, Vulfpeck. Vulfpeck has a new album out, and I didn't write down the name of the album. Oops. But, I've been listening to Vulfpeck for a while now, probably, and they are a groovy, funky, jazzy band. They give me, like, Earth, Wind, and Fire vibes, which my buddy Sean also said when I sent him this. He was like, this reminds me of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I'm like, yeah, it does give you that. I thought of it, too. And I would say Steely Dan vibes at points, too, because of the keys. But the comparison I would make also to this is the band Weather Report, which is Jaco Pastorius' band from the 80s. And I would say that because of the bass and also the style of like jazziness to the music. But they are just so much fun and positive, happy music. They have crazy instrumentation, bass horns, keys, percussion, everything. Specifically, the bass, like I said, is insane. On this new album, the song "New Beastly" is just insane. Playing, I actually sent it to a couple friends with the caption "Holy shit," because it's that crazy. Also, the song "Memories" is really good with a crazy bass line. But the whole album is a fun listen, mostly instrumental, with only some vocals here and there. I think mostly at the beginning, honestly. And I will admit that when they do add vocals, it's pretty corny. But it's fun music, and it's meant to be light. And this just came out a few days ago, so I haven't had too much time to get to know it. But I will definitely be playing this. I will say, except for the last song. I did not like that song. I will probably just skip that last song every time I listen to this album. But besides that, the rest of it's great. The rest of it's fun. Yeah, that's the new Vulfpeck album. All right. Running a little behind. Gonna keep going, though. New album from Jason Isbell, Foxes in the Snow. Also just came out recently. And Jason is a country artist. I was really excited for this album. I've been a Jason Isbell fan for years, and I'm really liking this new one. He went for a straight acoustic country sound, which is the first time he's done that, and I'm really liking it. You get to focus on his incredible lyricism and voice, and the guitar work is very nice. He's also just in general been a great lyric writer with some deep, often pretty dark and depressing lyrical content. I consider him part of my sad boy country repertoire. And I've recommended him to Zach Bryan fans. So if you like Zach Bryan, you'll probably like Jason as well. He's got a beautiful, sincere voice with personal lyrics, and he paints pictures with his lyrics. I haven't quite gotten a chance to fully catch all the lyrics, but I do know this album is actually about him getting divorced with his wife, and there's a couple songs that make it pretty obvious through the lyrical content, but I haven't quite gotten to connect the rest of it to that concept. But I do know that that is the concept of the album. So again, it is a little sad. It is a little depressing at times from that aspect, but it's also beautiful where he talks about the good times of this as well, and kind of expecting this, and just how life moves along. Yeah, really, really beautiful album. I can tell that this will be one of my favorite albums from him, and I can tell I will be playing this album a lot this year because I already have a few times. So that's Jason Isbell with Foxes in the Snow. All right, and I'm going to give a quick shout out to Mdou Moctar. If you listen to my top albums of 2024, I think this was number 6, Mdou Mokhtar's album. But they put out an acoustic arrangement version of that album. I think the original album was called Fear Injustice, Funeral of Justice, right? And then the new one is called Tears of Injustice. And so it's the same songs from that album from last year, but they made it into acoustic arrangements. And I really like that because I love the last album, but the last album was very punchy with electric guitar and distortion and a little more in your face. And this one, kind of makes it more accessible. You can put it on around people a little more. It's a little more laid back and percussive. Instead of a full drum set, they're using percussion instruments, congos and bongos, djembe maybe. This is a Nigerian band, so the style of music is, something you haven't heard quite typically. And I love it. I love the guitar work. Yeah, I got to mention this. I don't know if I'm going to consider it like a new album because it's the same songs, but I love the new acoustic arrangements. And, if you checked out the last one and it was a little too a little too distorted for you, this one's really cool. And you can put this one on anytime. Really great. That's Mdou Moctar with Tears of Injustice. All right. I know I'm going along here, but I just got a couple of things that I watched, a couple of new releases that I watched. The first one, music related, Sly and the Family Stone documentary on Hulu. Oh man, I was so excited for this. It's called Sly Lives. So damn good. And it was directed by Questlove, who is the drummer of The Roots. And also, he directed a great documentary called Summer of Soul. And, man, I've been listening to Sly and the Family Stone's music my entire life. My parents have had me listening to him forever. Sly's music is so special, and it feels so good. If you don't think you know Sly and the Family Stone, you do, though. You do, and I'll prove it to you right now. Dance to the music. Dance to the music. Yeah, that's not Shrek. I know you thought that might have been Shrek, but that's Sly. That's Sly. And I'll give you another one just in case. I am everyday people. Bing, bing. All right. I just had to do that. Sorry. But yeah, if you don't know Sly and the Family Stone, they're like progressive soul music. With great horns and bass and lyrics. But this documentary shows how their music reached so many demographics. It reached everybody. It really was music that broke through to everybody. Because you can't deny the infectious joy of their music and the positivity that they brought with their music. They were huge at Woodstock and very popular in the late 60s and early 70s. And the documentary shows how Sly had a bit of trouble dealing with the pressure from his community, the black community, because they wanted him to talk about his struggles. And then when he did, the people who were outside of that community didn't like it because it was too political or something. So he felt this confliction, and an obligation to talk about those things, but he wanted to make music that just reached everybody and just united everybody. And I think he really did that, especially because his band was so diverse. He had all kinds of people in his band from all different ethnicities. And so, that's part of the concept of the documentary. His struggles with, dealing with the pressures of society's eyes on him, and then also how he struggled with drug addiction. Of course, that's a typical musician story, so of course they go into that. But this is a fun watch because the music is so good, and the footage of the band and the interviews with him is great. Yeah, super cool cat, that Sly guy. You know what I mean? Sly and the Family Stone, it's on Hulu. Another thing on Hulu that came out, I'm moving into stand-up comedy. Chris Distefano came out with a stand-up special called "It's Just Unfortunate," and man, Chris Distefano cracks me up. Man, he fucking cracks me up. Just with how spastic he is. I mean, he's a mess. He's typically a mess. He's always anxious, ADHD, scatterbrained, and neurotic. I love it. His energy is so great, and he does this thing that when he gets excited, his voice gets higher. I find that hilarious. He talks a lot about balancing life with kids and how they are Puerto Rican, and so he's learning Spanish, but he doesn't really know it. And he's talking about like not feeling good enough, I'll give you one that cracked me up. He goes, my wife wants someone who is handy and can build things, and he's like, "Oh, I can build walls emotionally," and he obviously delivers it better. But I just thought that was funny line. He also talks about his dad, which I love when he talks about his dad, because his dad is very politically incorrect character that you just like shake your head at because he's so wrong, but he's so funny. Um, and he also, I will say, he deals with some loud, disrespectful audience members while the filming is taking place, and he deals with them great, and he actually makes it funny and a part of the show. So shout out to him for that. Yeah, Chris Distefano's new special, It's Just Unfortunate, on Hulu. Great. Another great stand-up special that I've been anticipating for a long time is Andrew Schulz's new special on Netflix called Life. I've been a fan of Andrew Schulz for years now. I like his podcast, and I've been waiting for this special because I knew the concept was pretty interesting. It's about him and his wife finally being able to give birth to their daughter, but they had struggles with getting pregnant, so they had to go through IVF. And I haven't quite heard this. I haven't heard a lot of stories of IVF in general, but especially from a comedian's perspective, it's so great. It's so great to hear. And I mean, it just jokes on top of jokes here, and also very heartwarming. Towards the end when they got through this whole experience of not being able to get pregnant, and then doing it through this weird scientific process that he wasn't familiar with. So he's describing his experience with it. It comes to this ending where it's very heartwarming. Yeah, this is a great stand-up special. Absolutely great. I think anybody can enjoy this and appreciate it. Yeah, it's Andrew Schultz's special called Life on Netflix. All right, and last one for you. I know I went long, but hey, I've been gone for a little while, Had to come back. I just got to mention Shane Gillis on SNL. I thought his monologue was hilarious. He has a amazing callback during it that I just did not see coming. And I would say some of the sketches that he did on SNL, like the Couple of Beers sketch, go look that up. Hilarious. I'll drop a link to that stuff. And I also thought the news sketch where they're competing with who if the person in the crime being committed that they're describing on the news was white or black, and they're keeping score and stuff. Oh my god, hilarious concept. I thought that was great. I thought I'm a Shane Gillis fan in general, and I thought he did a good job with his monologue and with quite a few of the sketches as well. Specifically, the Couple of Beers and that news one really had me cracking up. But yeah, that's what I got for you. These are all new releases. Wanted to give you a full new releases out episode. I know this went a little long, but I've been gone for a little while, So appreciate you listening. Love you all. Thank you. I have a good time doing this, and I think the next episode we'll probably be getting back to the recommendations that I've received from people and reviewing those. So thanks again, y'all. Have a good one.